Good morning. Well, wral data trackers are looking into this. So far, they found out that Tuesday there were 1,051 new cases reported. Monday, it was even lower. 626 new cases were reported. That's almost 1,000 lower than they had been over the last 7 days. Now, our data trackers learned one of the state's leading commercial labs was late in reporting that data Monday. The state tells us that the numbers that were missing Monday's count were added to Tuesday's numbers. And the state also put out this saying that the data should be viewed over multiple days in order to accommodate for single-day fluctuations and reporting anomalies. Of course, we are still waiting to find out what the theories are behind this numbers dropping. Nia Harden, WRAL News, Raleigh.
Hey, this is Chris, keeping it real, facts over fear. So you just saw that video. I captured it. I went ahead and captured it under fair use because I wanted to make sure that everyone understood that the data that I am presenting to you, and the data is at the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services, is accurate as of today, which is August 12th, 2020. So those low numbers are real numbers. They are not 7-day rolling averages, however, but they are real numbers of what was actually reported, so that's important to know. That's something this article does not make clear, so I wanted to make it clear for you, just in case you weren't clear. So here's a graph of actual cases. The first quote I have, Monday, North Carolina recorded fewer cases of the novel coronavirus and fewer deaths than on any day since June 2nd. I don't even know what they're talking about there, but I do have a graph of the number of cases straight from Department of Health and Human Services. We did have just over 1,000 yesterday. It was 600 the day before, so that's not 1,000 less than 1,000, right? 1,000 less than 1,000 would be, or 1,000 less would be 2,000. So that's Tuesday. This is Monday. This is Sunday. This is Saturday. This is Friday. Data dump days over the weekend, remember? Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, last Monday. So I don't even know where that sentence even comes from. And the death, and the comment on the deaths, and is a conjunction that means both things are true when you use it in a sentence. And I hate to be an English lecturer, but it really irritates me when people don't know how to write clearly. And this is about the worst written news story I've ever read. It's awful. The bad news. That was the good news. The good news is, well, we think we have less cases. The bad news is, well, here's why. One of the state's leading commercial labs was late in reporting data, blah, blah, blah. And the video, which I just captured, confirms that the totals are indeed correct. Oh, I forgot to highlight this in yellow. This is a quote from the article. A DHHS spokeswoman cautioned against taking any day's single numbers out of context. This data should be viewed over multiple days in order to accommodate for single-day fluctuations and reporting anomalies. And that's the woman's name. The communication manager for DHHS told WRAL data trackers, I notice there's not a name attached to this article, and I can see why, because it's so poorly written. My response, my critique of that is, I wish WRAL would take Connor's advice, because they constantly ignore this paradigm. Every time there's a single day total that they like, that they want to publish, that will scare the most number of people, that's what they publish. And they've been doing this for 6 months now. WRAL News asked the DHHS if they had any theories about the changes this week and what could be driving the numbers down. The spokesperson said more information will be shared on Wednesday. Well, the DHHS doesn't really know why things are happening. First of all, they only know that they have some data. And so anything they have is a hypothesis. It's not a theory. I know don't really stick to the whole idea of hypothesis theory and law anymore as scientific principles being used in the scientific method, but it still works for me. And so these people aren't going to know anything, and they certainly aren't going to know anything on a daily basis. Consistent with what I've been saying for quite some time now, which is to say the last 2 months, we are much further into this pandemic than everyone thinks. And that is backed up by data from the CDC and from sources in Europe that indicate that the actual number of infected people is 10 to 20 times what the official count is that that Department of Health and Human Services is getting. And I'm not going to bore you with going into that again if you've been watching the videos. If you have a question, I'll be happy to answer it in the question comment section. The fact of the matter is, testing is a joke in this state. It takes forever to get tested, and it takes forever to get the results. So people aren't getting tested because they don't get tested until they feel really sick, which is weeding out the people who are slightly or mildly worried about having the virus but don't feel like waiting hours for the test and waiting up 7 days to get the results. The real takeaway from this article, and it's the most obvious answer to the question, well, why are things so much better, is that there are actually less people sick, and that is great news. And you would think, in the public interest, WRAL would report things that way, but since they operate in an environment of fear, they continue to try to scare people. They continue to try to hold on to their lever of power right now, which is panic and fear, and that's all the news has these days. Don't really care which side of the aisle you're on. That's all the fear. That's all that news is. It's fear, one side or the other. Granted, I tend to the conservative side, but I understand fear mongering when I hear it, and I ignore it from both sides. WRAL is a consistent liberal fear monger, and that's just what they do, and that's just what they've become. They didn't used to be that way. They used to be a much better news station, but they are not anymore. Less people are sick, active infections are down, hospitalizations are trending down now also for over a week. So we've had 2 weeks of declining active infections per day, and hospitalizations have been down for a week. I think it's great news, and that's the way it ought to be portrayed, because that's what it is. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the section below. Like and subscribe. We appreciate when you do. We'll see you on the next fact-filled video.